6 days of rioting in a Negro section of Los Angeles left behind scenes reminiscent of war-torn cities.
But over the last couple of days, the rioting has certainly left its scars on this community.
I love, you know, I'm neutral. I love people of color. You know, I'm not like they picking me out to be.
Powerless against snipers, looters, and arsonists operating in the dark, police and National Guardsmen had tried mostly to confine the disorder to the 42 square miles of this area.
We've got to quit. We've got to quit.
For the city of Los Angeles, a third day of tension and violence.
It's like Vietnam. That's exactly like it was here. A battlefield. Here, a battlefield. Here, a battlefield.
Because this city has certainly seen its share of violence, enough for a lifetime.
More than 4,000 arrested. 4,000 National Guard troops. More than 4,000 arrested. 4,000 National Guard troops have joined the contingent of police and California Highway Patrol officers on the streets. More are on the way.
6 days of rioting in a Negro section of Los Angeles left behind scenes reminiscent of war-torn cities.
Folks, if this is retaliation for a verdict that people are not pleased with, you can't help but believe that people are destroying their own communities. Fires on every corner. We're at Pico and La Brea. Everywhere you look, there are fires. There are people standing here needing help, and they can't even get help. It makes you frustrated. It makes me very, very angry. I know as a reporter I'm supposed to remain objective, but sometimes you just can't remain objective when you have people hurt, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I know this is kind of an obvious question. What were your feelings last week when you saw what was happening to the city?
I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. So I was feeling beautiful to see all the unity. But then again, I was feeling nervous because I know that America's not going to let the riots go on long, and I was worried that we was going to lose a lot of people.
Is this a time for Hollywood to examine the images that it presents of black people and other minorities?
No, this is the time for America to look how they look at minorities. It's time for either you live or you die by your stereotypes. Either you live or you die by your ignorance. You know, and so either we change or we all fall.
Los Angeles neighborhood where Susan and Roger Cortez live with their 2 children never was good. Now, because of the violence of the past few days, it's a wreck.
It looks like Vietnam. That's exactly like it was here. A battlefield.
Although Watts is a predominantly Negro community, there seem to be no elements of racial protest in the uprisings. Rather, they seem to be riots without cause, occurring as they did in the week the Voting Rights Bill was signed.
Year-old kids in and out of buildings.
Yeah.
Where's the logic?
You know, instead of setting up some type of a recreation center to bring the kids to while this stuff is going on, they have them report to every day, to calm them down. The kids are the ones out here in the streets, and we don't control the kids. They close all the schools, So to me, it's kind of like a rhetoric.
He mentioned the greater forces, U.S. military troops, regular Army and Marines have been ordered to Los Angeles, but military leaders don't really want them used for quelling civil disturbances like this one. They're hoping that the show of force will be enough.
Even after order is restored, the police and 15,000 National Guardsmen, virtually the state's entire force, remain on duty.
Not like they picking me out to be.
They're hoping that the show of force will be enough.
Everybody's saying this videotape, but these officers have a job to do, and in doing that job, they have to be given a certain amount of reasonable, and that's what this is, reasonable force. That's what this is, reasonable force.
Powerless against snipers, looters, and arsonists operating in the dark.
And people look at this. You got the working class guy who says, well, shit, they're ripping off the S&Ls for $500 billion. Why shouldn't I go get that VCR? Or why shouldn't I go get that fruit or Coke? I work hard. I deserve it. Don't let the Daryl Gates and Bradley fool you and talking about these are thugs doing this. You see that on the tapes, you know, these people don't look like thugs, they're like family. They're going in with their whole families. And as far as the gang situation, we can give a damn about looting and burning. That's not our thing, you know.
I think it's straight up against the pigs.
Yeah.
Number one.
And they think it's straight up against us, you know. And I heard people call them material opportunists because they're running in these stores, and that's right. And with the gangbangers, this opportunity is to get at these police, you know what I'm saying? Because they've been killing us, stomping us, slapping us for years, you know, but it never comes out. And everybody knows they've been doing it since the beginning of time.
And when we get them on tape, they get found not guilty in a system that doesn't count for us.
They're hoping that the show of force will be enough.
And that's what this is, you know, reasonable force.
Not like they picking me out to be.
Yeah, you take a man that's over 230 pounds and you put him on the ground and 4 officers go in to put handcuffs on him and he throws those officers off.
The jurors were convinced that it was King who controlled the action, that he could have stopped the beating by surrendering. The officers, they felt, used reasonable force.
George Bush doesn't have the only impact that he's had on our community has been his years under Reagan, when Reagan's steadily snatching social programs out of our communities. You see what I'm saying?
The same CETA programs who came about because of the Watch Ride. You know what I'm saying? You had the Watch Labor Movement because of the Watch Ride.
Exactly.
And people always say, well, what good's going to come out of this? It's going to be some programs. I heard some white architects on the radio the other day talking about coming in. You know, this is what it took, you know? And that's the same way the CETA programs, the hot lunch programs, and all that stuff came about because of the Watch Ride. You know, I wasn't even born in the Watch Ride.
One more. George Bush doesn't carry any clout in our community. All right.
The jury was made up of 10 whites, 1 Hispanic, and 1 Asian. Critics of the verdict are questioning whether this jury of their peers gave the white defendants an edge, and whether King's race was a factor.
This is a predominantly Negro community. There seem to be no elements of racial protest in the uprising.
It didn't make any difference to me, and I don't think it made any difference to the majority of the jury.
And how do they feel about the violent reaction to their verdict?
Even looking at this after the fact, and I'm very sorry that this happened, but it wouldn't change how I voted.
What human being wouldn't be influenced by this? You know, this is ridiculous. This is chaos right now, and I can't help but feel somewhat responsible.
And yet he says if he had to do it again, he would vote the same way. Judy?
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Mendel Rivers to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nubs. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner. The revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on reports from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of Whitney Young being run out of Harlem on a rail with a brand new process. There will be no slow motion or still lifes of Roy Wilkins strolling through Watts in a red, black, and green liberation jumpsuit that he had been saving for just the right occasion. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction will no longer be so goddamn relevant, and women will not care if Dick finally screwed Jane on Search for Tomorrow because black people will be in the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no highlights on the 11 o'clock news and no pictures of Harry-armed women liberationists and Jackie Onassis blowing her nose. The theme song will not be written by Jim Webb or Francis Scott Keys, nor sung by Glenn Campbell, Tom Jones, Johnny Cash, or Engelbert Humperdinck. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be right back after a message about a white tornado, white lightning, or white people. You will not have to worry about a dove in your bedroom, the tiger in your tank, or the giant in your toilet bowl. The revolution will not go better with Coke. The revolution will night fight germs that may cause bad breath. The revolution will put you in the driver's seat. The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers. The revolution will be live.